Good evening and welcome to the West Yorkshire Football Show. It is a Talktown special, and Steve's headline tonight is Town lose late at Stevenage as Manning takes first defeat in the league. And Steve, my friend, looks like you've had a haircut. My pal, looking a little bit fresher than you did last week. How are you?
Yeah, fresh trim, mate. Fresh trim. Just for you this week, I thought, I thought it might be just me and thee today, so I thought I better smarten myself up for the old podcast. But yeah, I had a decent weekend, mate. Bought a fridge today, so for my new house. So we've been fridge shopping, so that's been exciting. I tell you what, I can't believe the technology in fridges now. You can get it to scan your entire fridge and it'll tell you what's in it and what, like, if it's out of date and stuff now. You can order off your fridge now. Unbelievable. I ain't got one of them. I'm not posh enough. But anyway, yeah. You had a good weekend.
Riveting conversation there, Steve. Really, really happy you've told us about that fridge. Yeah, absolutely. So, mate, no, Steve, I'm only jealous I'm not out buying fridges. Couple of comments in already, so thank you very much for them. Terry at 9:30, looks like you're not very happy with that one. Paul says, evening, guys. And the first one, okay, let's go for it. Evening, lads. Well, I wish Manning had informed us before setting off down to Stevenage yesterday at 6 a.m. that we were going to play for a 0-0 draw. Could have saved myself 100 quid. Okay, so yeah, there is the game to talk about yesterday. Stevenage won, Huddersfield Town 0. Probably not the way we thought things were going to go. This was your lineup. Actually, Steve, do you want to talk about the Doncaster game first?
I didn't watch it, Kane, to be honest. I was playing football myself. I just know that I've seen the highlights and I know that we dominated, the majority of the game. They only really had one chance and it was the penalty that they scored. I just wish that me and you would have been on the field to take the penalties at the end because I think we'd have done a better job.
Steve, you've not seen me take a penalty, so just be careful what you say, although I probably would have done better than the first four. Joe says he can sleep a lot better tonight knowing that Steve won't be eating out-of-date food. So, Joe, I think he's helped us all get some sleep because what I'm going to be doing when I'm ready to go to sleep is just play the first 2 minutes of this podcast on repeat, and hopefully I'll be done after 3 repeats.
Wow.
Steve, I've got no one else to pick on tonight. Don't be like that.
Even when you have you pick on me, you know it.
Well, yeah, that is true. That is true. Yeah, Town, they had a cup game during the week. It was the EFL Trophy, and that finished, it finished one apiece, didn't it? Huddersfield Town eventually losing out to Doncaster on penalties, which, we're no strangers to missing penalties. We're no stranger to it.
Nope.
It possibly should have gone better. In terms of the game, Steve, I know you mentioned you didn't really watch it. The second half, Town really did come out fighting a little bit stronger. Lots of opportunities to go and win the game. In fact, just before the full-time whistle, Dion Charles had a massive opportunity to square the ball to Alfie May, who would have had an empty goal to put the ball in the back of the net of, but instead scuffed his pass, went underneath his feet and straight into a defender, and Doncaster cleared, which was a bit of a shame. But Town, is it okay? We're now out with that cup, Steve. Is it a disappointment the fact that Huddersfield Town haven't got to the final in there?
I'm devastated that I'm not going to be able to spend £400 on a weekend to Wembley for a cup that I don't care about. I'm devastated. Yeah, no, it's disappointing, isn't it? Because you use the cup to try and get minutes into other lads' legs, such as Wales, who I know, played a big part, and people like that. But it's all about the league, innit? And we need to continue to try and do well in the league to get into the playoffs. So, it was a means to an end, let's put it that way, Kane. And yeah, it's disappointing, but end of the day, it's not the biggest fish to fry, is it?
No, it's certainly not. But I think it might have been nice for a Wembley trip for everybody involved to go and win a cup. But Paul said he had the draw and the penalties, but the wrong way around. He also said the worst penalties ever. Remember that playoff final game when Town missed the first 3 penalties and somehow managed to win that one. That was a fantastic day at Wembley against Sheffield United. But
Alan Lee's P-roller into Simonson's hands. I mean,
yeah. Although it's not going to be happening again. Not in this Cup trophy anyway. Okay, so let's move on to the Stevenage game. Paul says, bad day at the office yesterday. They were non-existent yesterday. So very, very harsh words there from Paul. And we'll find out from Steve if them words are true and are granted. Nichols started in goal. Wallace, Feeney and Balker was the back three. Mumba on the left. Sorensen on the right. McGuane and Ledson through the middle of the park. Kasumu and Harness just playing off Dion Charles. And bad news for Town fans because early on in that game, Marcus McGuane comes off, which looked like it was going to be another groin injury, Steve. Another groin injury for Marcus McGuane. But in terms of the lineup, what did you make of it? Happy with that?
Yeah, it was pretty standard, wasn't it? I didn't think he'd do anything much different. Thought Sorensen deserved to have a start with with how Goots played in the last game. And the other change was Kasumu, I think, from memory. So yeah, it was pretty bog standard lineup. It's just unfortunate that we had to have Dion Charles up front again, isn't it, really?
So that's the only area that you would have liked to have changed in the lineup then, Steve?
Well, it's not changeable, is it? We don't, apart from Wales on the bench, who's as rusty as anything, we don't really have any options. So thank God when Alfie May comes back and Ryan Hardy's up to scratch. So yeah, that's where I would have changed if we would have had a choice, but we don't. So there we are.
So Terry and I have just put this in. My biggest worry is that Manning come out saying we're coming for a 0-0 draw against the mighty Stevenage. A huge concern for me. And Paul says he offers nothing. It was useless yesterday, was Charles. He had a couple of opportunities which just went over the bar, Steve. And I think I heard it mentioned that's 18 appearances now without a goal for Dion Charles.
Yeah, there's droughts, and then there's Sahara Desert droughts, isn't there, where it hadn't rained for about 19 years. It's disappointing, isn't it? But I'm getting used to the fact that he's just not very good. I don't really understand how he scored all these goals for Bolton, to be honest. Like, I mean, he's missed chances in the box, he's missed chances 1-on-1, he's missed easy chances, he's missed penalties. So it's disappointing. I don't really know whether Manning said that he was going for a 0-0 draw. I don't quite get where that's coming from, unless he actually said it and I misheard. But fair enough.
So for Dion, then obviously we're talking about this drought. Is there anything that can be said to him? Is there anything that can be done? Do you believe that might just help him?
Yeah, the opposition not to have a goalkeeper, to be honest. I think that might be a start. No, I don't really know. I think he's one of them strikers that if he's on a goal-scoring run, he'll be in really good, confident mood, and he probably everything will go in. And he did get a couple of goals, didn't he, earlier this season when I think it was Mansfield, Plymouth, that little run where we thought, hey, Lee Grant's going to, turn it around. But then he's just gone back to being the regular Dion Charles. Like, nobody can say that he don't work hard and he doesn't run and try and get in positions, but he's just quality. The quality of his touch and I was listening to Matt Lennon yesterday while watching the game, and Matt was exactly right when he said when he goes in to try and win the ball, he's more worried about the defender. So he's actively, all his thought processes, I've got to beat him, I've got to outmuscle my defender, and actually not taking care of the ball. So the ball just bounces off him, his touch is awful, and then he's got to either make a tackle with his second touch or we just lose the ball. And that's part of where his quality is just not there. I mean, yesterday he couldn't hold the ball up. He couldn't run in behind because he either didn't do it or he was offside. And when he had a couple of chances, like you said, where he skied it over the bar, really, he should have done better with those chances that he did have. So I don't really know what Liam Manning can say to him, because it's not something I don't think you can coach properly. I mean, you might disagree, but you've either got it or you haven't you? You know, and I don't, like I said, I don't really know why, how he's gone on to score all these goals for Bolton, because we just haven't seen it since he's turned up here.
Could it be a case if you've got to play to the strengths of your striker? And, you know, you mentioned maybe about coaching it into him. So could it be a case of that the manager needs to say, look, Dion, you're trying to fight battles that you don't need to fight. Forget trying to wrestle with a defender. Just stand there and try to be big. Let that ball come into your feet, or go over the top. Go to chase the ball down the channel. We'll support you, because maybe there was a bit of a lack of a press as well yesterday.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, and that's something that he does do well. He does press the ball. It's just nobody presses with him. So, you know, I will give him that. And like I say, he does have a lot of energy in there. He gets us sometimes up the pitch when we've you know, been defending from a corner. So he has got plenty of energy to get us up there. But we need more from him. You know, we've talked about Bojan, haven't we, and his deficiencies, but he's actually improved a lot as the season's gone on, and you can tell he's got bigger and stronger before he got injured, and was holding the ball up really well, and starting to, you know, to really prove, I think, a few fans wrong. But Dion's just not been able to do that. Now, there's ways of and means of being a big man up top, or like you said, running in behind. But then when you've got the opportunity, you know, it's about not trying too hard. I think Alfie May does that as well. He tries too hard, and then they just mess up that opportunity, and that then causes us problems, because it means that we've missed chances that really we should have done a lot better with. And that's the frustrating element.
Joe said he'd rather have Mo Farah up front. So that's an interesting one. Paul says, I'll be glad when May and Hardy and Bojan is back, but it won't be anywhere near the starting team, I hope. Yeah, potentially it's just a case of having to maybe look at the strengths a little bit more. So you mentioned about that he can work hard with his running and he's pressing well. But if you get the rest of the press up, Dion Charles is going to look a lot better, because he has that support around him, and at times he's doing it on his own. What I want to mention early on, well, certainly in the first half, Lee Nichols makes an absolutely wonderful save, Steve. Wonderful save, and it keeps Town in the game. And he does it with his legs, and it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, it was Phillips who ran through, and really he sort of like ghosted through our defence. Murray Wallace tried to make a tackle on him, got left behind for dust, and then the other lads couldn't get over to cover, runs past him, and what Nichols does really well, and he's excellent at doing this, he keeps himself big for the last second until he makes Phillips make a decision. And actually, Phillips made the wrong decision, because he should have chipped it a little bit, and it might have gone over that trailing leg that Nichols left, but he didn't. And that was because Nichols didn't give him that time to make a decision. It was like he had to make a snap decision, and that's it. It was a really, really excellent save, and it kept us in the game at that point, because Stevenage had just started to get a few chances, and like not really brilliant chances. That was the first big chance, I thought, and yeah, it was excellent.
And Paul says he went through as like butter, did Phillips, and it were a case of, actually, they moved the ball really, really well onto the left-hand side. A nice pick-out ball through the middle. And as mentioned, the defence was cut open a little bit. Is that a worry at the moment? Is that a frailty? Is that the amount of games that Town have had where they're just looking at everything? Why is that happening?
I think it's a few reasons. I think they're just not confident at their back, and then that gives opposition, you know, when they've got threats like Phillips, the ability to be more confident. You know, as the game goes on, they know that they're going to get a chance or two. As time ticks on, you know, he had the beating of Murray Wallace. I mean, I thought Murray Wallace was the best man on the pitch yesterday in terms of headers and battling and effort, and like always, like Murray is. What he isn't, though, is he isn't fast. I genuinely think me and you could beat Murray Wallace in a race.
Won't see me run.
Well, no, I can only imagine. But yeah, I think that there's a lack of structure in there. When we've talked about that before, and we saw that actually in the last home game when we talked about the fact that Murray didn't have an option, so he chipped it down the line. Feeney was slow at bringing the ball out, which he was again yesterday. They kept giving it to Bolker, and Bolker has to do everything on the ball. I mean, technically, I will put Bolker in the centre of the three, actually, at the back, if you're going to give him that responsibility. Or you put Murray Wallace there and you put Feeney on the other side, because at the moment, the setup, I don't think is right at the back. And then because you've got them three and Bolker's the only one with pace, the problem also is when Sorensen goes forward and Ballymumba goes forward, there isn't a right lot of protection there at the moment, particularly down the sides, which is where Phillips was getting down.
Yeah, he made a lovely cutting run from the right wing through to the middle where he picks up the ball. Got a couple of comments I'd like to go through here. We offered nothing yesterday, said Captain Cisco, and he also mentions Charles can't even keep himself onside. Didn't really battle for the ball, but the service was poor. Paul also says, by the way, I thought Murray had a great game. He won everything yesterday, headers, etc. Feeney woeful. Dale, I want to come on to yours in a moment, because coming up to half time, Steve, Paul's mentioned it here. Ashia should have been on at half time, and where was Alves? He was brilliant the other night. Yesterday, nowhere to be seen. And again, in terms of what Dale said here, what more do you think Alves can do to at least be on the bench? He had a solid game in the cup. So half time comes about. Would you have made any changes? Do you agree with Paul? Would you have brought Ashia on?
Yeah, I probably would agree with that. Yeah, probably would have brought Ashia and Miller on, to be honest. We needed a bit more of a creative spark in there, a bit more forward, direct running. Far too many headers. I mean, I've never seen as many headers in a game. I'll be absolutely honest. I've watched non-league games and I've seen it on the deck more than what it was yesterday. We totally played into Stevenage's hands. Not saying that they didn't play good football, because they did. They played effective football like we've seen in many sides this season. Far too many headers. And we just decided that we were going to do that battle, and we were never going to win that battle. I mean, they've got 6'4" centre-backs, for God's sake. You know, it's just not... I don't know why we decided to go that way, Kane, to be honest, because it seemed like when McGuane went off, we couldn't get anybody in the midfield to get hold of the ball to pass it, to play. I mean, I don't know, what your points are really to discuss, but I do think Humphries is... I don't know what his skill set is in midfield at the moment. I haven't quite worked him out. He's a very vanilla type player. I was trying to think of adjectives, and probably vanilla, or he's a bit of a porridge player, isn't he? In terms of he's not brilliant defensively. He doesn't tackle the best, so he's not like a Kasumu or Ledson. But I wouldn't say he's as effective at attacking as what Castledine was or what Alves is. So I'm not quite sure what he adds in that midfield at the moment.
Well, I see him as a box-to-box, actually, but he's just small. I think that's his only downfall in physicality. He's a bit smaller than everyone else. He's tenacious, got that bit of character in there, just needs to find a bite and a bit of physicality, and I would have him as a box-to-box. But again, it's... I think there's a few players at the moment that fit one role, and quite a few of them. With this, in terms of Ballymumba, he's getting played left back, but he's right-footed.
Yeah.
He's a right back. You play him at right back, but they've already got two right backs, so there's three right backs at the club. One left back who's struggling with fitness. Let the other left back go out on loan, and then we'll be sold. So. Again, there's lots of things for Liam Manning to look at, but that's not going to be till the summer. Like you mentioned there, you got Cameron Humphries, central midfielder. Marcus McGuane, central midfielder. David Kasumu, central midfielder. Brian Ledson, central midfielder. There's four of them there. And some of them are having to play a little bit further out of position than they usually would. But it's just one of the things I think with injuries as well at the moment. It's doing what Town can. In fairness, there is quite a few.
But you can see defined skill sets within some of those centre midfielders, can't you? We've said before, Ledson, Kasumu, you know, the way Kasumu carries the ball, he's not good at passing, but he'll win you the ball, he'll get you up the pitch, he'll be really energetic in there. Ledson, likes to tackle, he's the Johnny Ogg sort of type, supposed to calm everybody down and rev everybody up when they need it. Even Herbie Kane, who we've sent out on loan, he's the type to spread a pass around and really dominate a game. I'm not sure Cam Humphreys. I'm not saying he's a bad player, by the way. I think he's a really good player. I just don't know what he adds in our midfield at the moment. When he came on for McGuane, McGuane is a very set type player, isn't he? He's gonna, he's got that little jink to get you out of trouble. He's got that ability to pick a pass and keep the team ticking over. I'm not sure what Cam Humphreys' job is at the moment. And yeah, he probably is a box-to-box midfielder, but you need a box-to-box midfielder to dominate a game for me, and I don't know whether he can do that.
No, maybe he's just not ready to do that at the moment. Paul, I think he's talking about Ashia here. He showed it when he came on, nearly scored in his first big attack, as he's brilliant. Harness lucky not to be sent off. His booking was harsh, but definitely ruled his luck from then on, says Dale. So in terms of the second half, Steve, what would your comments have been at half time? What would you have liked to have seen?
I don't think we were physical enough. I wanted to see us get the ball on the deck a bit more. We know we can play football. We've got the people in there that are technically good enough at this level to pick passes out, to try and be creative in there. And I'd say get the ball on the floor. Don't play into Stevenage's hands, but be physical when we need to be physical. And I don't think we did either well enough. And you have to give credit to Stevenage. What, they've only conceded 7 goals at home all season. I mean, that's a mad stat, isn't it, really? When you look at it, that is crazy, that. And take your opportunities when you get them. It might only take 1 or 2 opportunities in this half, and you've got to be on the ball, literally, to make sure you get those chances to hit the back of the net, because you aren't going to get 15, 20 shots in this type of game.
Yeah, absolutely not. Okay, so then the first change comes. It's where are we now? It's Harness. The second change. It's Harness who comes off, Miller comes on. From there, are you expecting to see a bit more go forward?
Well, yeah, because I think we've talked on here before about how we all, really like Miller and his drive forward. Didn't really get his position. He seemed to float in the middle. And for me, that's not where he needs to be the most effective. I think when you get him, even in the front three or sort of that forward sort of wing position, he's really effective at. So yeah, it didn't really work as I would have hoped when he came on, but he did add a bit more sort of give and go, did the 1-2s and tried to get round Stevenage a bit more, definitely.
Yeah, tried to get something going. And then Ashia comes on, as does Wales. As Paul mentioned, big opportunity. Are we hoping Ashia comes on and Town get the goal? But it just didn't seem to be like it was ever going to happen.
No, I don't think Wales was very effective when he came on. But he's up against, like I've just said, 6'4" centre backs. I mean, they played really well at the back, did Stevenage, for me. They were defensively really solid. They had the good you always see on Match at Day or Sky when they talk about the formation and the way that they're very tight and compact in there. It's very little room to get through the lines or be effective in that sort of area. And Stevenage were really good. They moved up and down the pitch as a unit. And for me, Wales struggled when he came on. I thought Ashia was probably our brightest sub. Some people say that he should have done better with a chance. I thought it was a hard chance, to be honest. I thought he did well to get it as close as what he did to the goal. But yeah, I mean, I do like Gamache. I think I was talking to my dad about this the other day, yesterday, sorry, after the game. I was like, we watched Josh Koroma for about 6-7 years, and I think Gamache can be a better player than what Josh Koroma is. I think he's got the same type of ability when he drops the shoulder, comes in, and he's able to score that Josh Koroma type goal, which is now becoming a Gamache special. But what Cam needs to learn is how to beat a man on the outside. And sometimes he does it well, and sometimes he doesn't. The one thing that I would say that Cam does well, better than what Josh did, is he's better in like his defensive duties, getting back, harrying defenders, opposition attackers. I think he can become a better player than what Josh Koroma is. That's just my opinion. I know some people disagree with that, but we're on here to give opinions, so I've put one out there, Kane.
Steve, football is about opinions, and you're allowed to have them. That's the beauty of it, my friend. Speaking of opinions, one that we've been talking about since Lee Manning came in, that he made changes at the right time. Captain Cisco, subs were way too late. Opinion or fact from you, Steve, from Captain Cisco over the weekend, anyway? How do you make it?
I thought they were a little late. Yeah, I thought they were a little late. I think he's got a fair point there. I mean, Cam and Miller came on at 77 minutes, I think. So by that stage, we already know the state of play in the game, don't we? We know what Stevenage are doing. We know how we're not being effective. So I think that's a fair comment. Yeah.
So subs were just a little bit too late, and then the goal eventually happens, comes into the box, which seemed to be a bit of a theme where when Stevenage put the ball into the box, there were plenty of players to aim for, and eventually they got the goal. And was it coming?
Was it coming? No, I think, well, it kind of was in terms of, if you look at the total of the game, probably Stevenage did deserve to win. But at that time, Town were doing all right. Like we've just spoke about Asher being effective, Miller trying his little bits in midfield. So I don't think Stevenage were as dominant at that point. However, let's start the comment about the goal right. Nichols makes the most horrific pass into the sort of area where the Stevenage lad picks it up. It's then a terrible foul by, I think it might be by Miller, actually, who makes the terrible foul. And then you've got to set up for that set piece. And the lad, I mean, he was a sub that came on for him, and he's about 6'2", I think, something like that. He's a big lad anyway. He comes on and wins the header. And yeah, it's again a poor goal for us to concede. Not concentrating when we need to, not smelling the danger, making mistakes that lead up to the goal. Yeah, it was just overall really disappointing. And I kind of thought, with the way Manning's term has gone so far, we'd still got chance to score an equaliser, but that obviously didn't happen. It was a bit too late this time in the game to try and snatch a point.
Yeah, well, Paul says, you think you brought on Asher earlier, you would have had time to influence the game and get a draw. This is just a nice comment as well. Big up to you guys. Much love from a United fan. Thank you, Stretford End Podcast. Captain Cisco, it was a long trip to watch a crap football. One of yours there, Steve. He also mentions, like watching Grant football. John says, our strike force or lack of will ultimately cost us a playoff place unless somehow Hardy and May can hit it off straight away. Nichols' distribution was shocking yesterday, says Paul. Anything to comment on them, Steve?
Well, thank you very much for the Man United fan to watch us in lonely League One here. Very good. I've had my haircut unlike the other lad. So yeah, I won't be doing it.
All the time I look good.
Shut up, Big. I won't be doing a haircut challenge if Town won 5 in a row, because it will just never happen in our lifetime anyway. So what's the point? But yeah, we know Nichols' distribution is not very good. That's not his game, but yeah, it was his fault for the goal. Yeah, Ashley coming on earlier would have made a difference. I agree with that. I think that is a great point. I think we talked about the subs should have been earlier. Was it like Grant football? It's hard though, isn't it? Because like I had a chat in a WhatsApp group after the game, and people were saying, "Well, Grant had injuries, yeah, but he didn't have his entire front line obliterated, and he's only got Dion Charles really to pick from and a rusty loanee from Swansea." You know, I mean, we it's quite clear that without Bojan would have made a massive difference to that game yesterday. With the way that it went, with the fact that it was played 90% of it in the air, Bojan would have been able to bring that ball down, bring people into play, would have made a massive difference. Alfie May, we know his quality at this level, so he would have made a difference. Yeah, we haven't seen Ryan Hardy in a Town shirt yet, but you know, I mean, he's a Football League very, very good striker, so he would have made a difference too. So, was it like Grant football? Yeah, but I don't think it was as bad as what people are making out. I think it was poor. It was the poorest undermanning so far, but I think there are reasons behind that.
Hope Ryan Hardy at least makes the bench on Tuesday night. Dion Charles needs leaving up at that little house on the M62. Okay, 2 games coming up this week, Steve. First one is Doncaster away on Tuesday. So a week after facing them in the Cup, it's time to have that fixture again down at Doncaster. Will Town be looking for a bit of revenge?
I don't think the Cup game really matters, does it? I mean, I don't think revenge is out. I think both sides will change if they can. Obviously, we'll be going up against our old mate, Matty Pearson, so I'm sure he'll have a thing or two to say from some corners. So, yeah, Donny are obviously fighting for their lives, aren't they, at the bottom there? You know, I think Grant McCann's an half-decent manager now. So, it's going to be a tough game. And we've got to stand up and be countered. It's not going to be a pretty game. Donny are not going to get it down on the deck and let us play. It's going to be a battle, and we've got to be ready for that at the Keepmoat Stadium, or whatever it's named now. I'll always call it the Keepmoat.
So Terry 9:30 earlier said basically, he said after the game, this is about the Stevenage game, that Liam Manning with Raj came out and said we went for a 0-0, take a point and then go again. Is it the same case on Tuesday?
But did he say that? But did he say that in terms of he was reacting to the fact that the goal went in so late, and he knew that we probably weren't going to win it at that stage? Maybe I'm making an excuse for him, Kane. I don't know. I think sometimes you've got to, you know. Grant went out, and we know he went out to play for just a point. But I don't know whether that is Manning's style necessarily. You know, we have seen in the other games he has chucked people on. No, we need to go beat Donny on Tuesday. You know, if we want to get in the playoffs, we have to go beat Doncaster. I mean, they're not a good side, are they? Let's be honest.
Oh, you've said that before this season, Steve.
I have. So I can't wait to lose 3-0.
Okay, another game at the weekend though. It is a Yorkshire derby, South versus West. Barnsley come to the Aku Stadium, and now that's huge. That's huge, you know. Okay, so Town have had a disappointing game in the Cup, disappointing game this weekend. We don't know what's going to happen Tuesday, but the whatever happens, there's a big chance at home against Barnsley to get them players going again.
Yeah, Doncaster is also in South Yorkshire, and it is a Yorkshire derby. Just pointing that out. No, you meant it for this weekend, so I was coming up against Barnsley. So I'm just saying.
Yeah, but Barnsley just seems bigger, doesn't it?
Oh, Donny fans will be on it.
There's a bit more of a rivalry between Barnsley and Huddersfield than there is Barnsley and Doncaster.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Hi, Doncaster fans, if you're watching this. Give him the hate.
Apparently, I've heard.
Give him the hate, not me. Yeah. Obviously, it's a big rivalry, and it's kind of a fun rivalry in a way, because of obviously what happened all them years ago to send Peterborough down, which was magnificent. But yeah, it's a tough test. Obviously, Connor. What's his name? Oran, that's it. Just went out of my head. He plays very attacking football, doesn't he, at Barnsley? I mean, they score a lot of goals. They also concede a lot of goals. They're very much like us in that sense. Their form has been way up and down this season. I mean, early on they had a really good time under him. Then it went to pot, and then they got it back, and now it's gone to pot again. And you don't really know what's going to turn up, I don't think, with Barnsley. It's hard to know which side you're going to end up playing. But we've got to get there as fans. We've got to get there in numbers, back the boys again, and really hope that we can get another win over the line. I mean, it'd be great to get back on track, wouldn't it, with 6 points in the next two, and sort of treat Stevenage as a bit of a blip, maybe. That will be good.
Certainly, well, we're getting some predictions in already, which I'm very, very grateful. So thank you very much.
Guys, we've got 20 minutes yet.
Well, maybe not, Steve. I'm tired. There's only two of us. We might be able to get there tonight. I don't know if you can tell, but my eyes look pretty tired. Dale says, I'd seriously consider playing a false nine on Tuesday, as Charles isn't good enough and Wells doesn't look ready. What do you think?
Wales doesn't look ready, but I would rather have him up front than Charles. I believe it right. Is this the last game? No, Doncaster will be the last game for May to be banned. Correct?
Correct.
So we should see Alfie May back on Saturday. I would like to hope. You'd like to hope maybe Ryan Hardy might be ready for Barnsley. I think Donny might be a little bit early. Maybe I don't know, being optimistic there. They kind of said, what, a week, did they? I think in the presser last week. But yeah, let's hope that May definitely should be back. But yeah, against Donny, I can see I'd play Wales up top against Doncaster to start with and have Charles on the bench. I think he's played Charles now twice from the start, and in both games he's not really done much. So I think it's time to give Wales a chance.
Paul, I've seen your comment about Barnes. It's also got a prediction in there, so I'm just going to hold it for now. But you also mentioned, says Paul, get Els back in the team as well. Would you keep the same system and formation at the moment, Steve, or would you change it up? Don't forget, look, Town have lost one game. They've lost one game at the Liam Manning. But I'm just asking that question because there's not really much. There's a difference between Lee Grant's formation towards the back end and Liam Manning's now, but it is quite similar. The only thing that's different is the front 2/3.
Well, actually, it's a 3-4-3 mainly.
That's how you see it.
That's how I see it. Yeah, 3-4-3 that turns into a 5 when defending and then goes into a 4 when attacking. Do you see it differently to that?
Well, the current formation, I see the current formation as a 3-4-2-1.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Again, see, this is the thing. The difference between a 3-4-3 is the 3 up front will be two. They'll be a lot higher up the field, but at the moment, them two players, which at the weekend was Kasumu and Harness, are playing behind Charles rather than next to Charles.
Yeah, I would play 3-4-3 personally. I think that'd be better.
So you would keep it similar, but just change the shape a little bit.
For the press as well. I'd have us higher pressing.
Well, that's what you would get with a 3-4-3 rather than the 3-4-2-1 at the moment.
And I also don't think Kasumu's the right player to play in the position that he's been playing in, to be honest. I don't think he's good enough on the ball creatively as what we need from a player in that position. So I wouldn't have Kasumu there. I think Kasumu would have to go back now to play with Ledson because McGuane's out. I mean, I don't know what you know about injuries. You've been in that sector of sports and science and whatever. I'm a simple journalist, but groin injuries, they can be a bit tricky, can't they? I think to
Nasty.
solve.
Yeah, horrible.
Yeah,
It depends how serious it is. I mean, one of the positive things I would say, I mean, negatively, he went down straight away, so he knew he was hurt, but he did try and get him and play on. So maybe that's a sign it's not too bad. But either way, you're still looking at minimum, 4 weeks?
Yeah, I was going to guess a month. Yeah, which is not good.
No.
So yeah, I mean, so in my what I would do, thinking is 3-4-3. I will bring Owls back in. I don't really know why he doesn't seem to like him, to be honest. But yeah, I bring Owls back in. I play him and Harness either side of Wales. I'd have Kasumu and Ledson in the middle. Ballymumba, obviously, I know we've talked about he's at left back and he shouldn't be, but it is what it is. Left back, and then either Sorensen or Gooch. And then you've got your three at the back, which is obviously Bolker. But as I've said, I would have Bolker in the middle. Or I'd have Murray Wallace in the middle. I'd have Murray Wallace in the middle, actually. I'd have Bolker and Feeney either side. And Nichols in net. That's what I'd do.
Interesting. Paul agrees with me, saying it's a 3-4-2-1, and then 5 at the back while defending. He also mentions that McGuinn is a great midfielder, but is made of glass, which is a shame because, yeah, he absolutely is a fantastic midfielder for Huddersfield Town. Okay, I think it's time. Look, Steve, I am going to be honest with you. There's not really much else for us to go through. We spoke about last 2 games. Spoke about the next 2 games. It's time for predictions.
Yeah.
It's time for predictions. We've already got a few in. So this gives everybody else just a little bit more time to get your predictions in. If you want to do so, it'd be great if you do, because Paul's already gone for one. He's gone 2-1 Town on Tuesday. Thinks Town will win that one. Terry at 9:30 says Donny 1, Town 1. And then at the weekend, Town 2, Barnsley 1. Wade Barnsley are playing, we have May back for that one. Town should be going straight for the jugular. Revenge for earlier in the season. 2-0 Town. We don't have any other ones at the moment. So, Steve, what are your predictions, my friend?
I'll go for a Town 1, Donny 1 on Tuesday. And then I'll be optimistic. Town 2, Barnsley 0. Even though I've just said 10 minutes ago, Barnsley score loads of goals.
Yeah, I'm about to say, make up your mind. Dale says Donny 0, Town 2, Barnsley Town 3, Barnsley 1, Stevenage just a blip. That's the kind of positivity, Dale, that I am asking for this Sunday night. And Steve, unless there's anything else, my friend.
No, Donny will be the tougher test out of the 2. You know, you'd like to think that at home we'd be really up for it, but let's not underestimate Donny. They're fighting for the lives, so let's just hope it's a bit more positive and better performance and get the ball down on the deck. But yeah, no else, Kane. Let's get off and let everybody else have a bit of time back on this damp Sunday evening.
Yeah, we want positivity, Steve, because I want to see you smiling next week. I don't like it when you're sad. I prefer it when you're happy.
I don't think I've been that sad today. I bought a fridge.
No, it just looks a little bit down there, but the most of the time, mate, I prefer you to be happy, smiley. You've had a fresh haircut. We've been out fridge shopping. You should be at the top of the world, my friend. That's where I want you to be.
And same back at you. I like it when you smile as well. Listen, 3 weeks ago, we were absolutely buzzing on here. Cal had the beard out and the sunglasses on, didn't he? So
he did. He certainly did, and hopefully he'll be back next week as well, Oliver. So, without further ado, I've got to say it. Like, share, subscribe as per usual. Thank you very much for tuning in. We've been a Talk Town special on the West Yorkshire Football Show, and Steve's headline this week was Town lose late at Stevenage as Manning takes first defeat in the league. So have a wonderful week, everybody. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you next week at the same time as per usual here on the West Yorkshire Football Show. And until then, we shall